Well, it's that time of year again. 2:54 p.m. You see, every time I don't talk about the Yoshi series at this specific minute every single day, I get publicly scolded by Nintendo, so I have to make sure I don't forget this time. But I have already talked about the first Yoshi game in the series. It was literally just named Yoshi. It was just a random puzzle game on NES and Game Boy that I was a decent enough fan of. But you know the age-old saying, all ovens of cookies. You see, why does the hot eat the food when the oven hot eat the cold food? Anyways, to set the mood for the second Yoshi game in the series, I'm baking cookies. In fact, they should be done like right now. Yoshi was pretty successful, especially for how obscure it was in the grand scheme of things. I mean, this is something only the cool kids were informed of. You had to dig for Yoshi. But Game Freak, the developers, had moved on to creating the most successful IP of all time. Darn it! No one to develop Yoshi 2, the game I've been anticipating for years. But the Yoshi series did not die then and there. Even if Game Freak was out of the picture, it doesn't mean Yoshi was. Enter Bulletproof Software, a game development company who just had nothing to do that afternoon. Basically, Bulletproof Software had gotten the rights to an arcade game named Hermetica that flopped pretty badly at its location tests. But they had faith in this thing for some reason and developed a version on the Super Nintendo. They ended up showing this to Nintendo in 1992, and Nintendo was over the moon about this. They had an idea. They could use this puzzle game and reskin it to make a semi-sequel to Yoshi that was released just a year prior on Game Boy and NES. So, they obtained the license to use the 8-bit version of Hermetica to develop the one and only Yoshi's Cookie. It was released in Japan later that year in November, brought stateside in April of 93, and after over a year of eager amounts of waiting in Europe, they got it in April of 1994. That must have been rough, man. Okay, so what exactly is Yoshi's Cookie anyway? Well, I feel like it was obvious that it was a puzzle game, but it isn't really similar to Yoshi 1991 at all. Instead of having things dropping down onto switching plates, you have a set of cookie tiles that Mario, which is you, can move in any direction. Up, down, left, right, but the thing is, you control the movement of the entire rows and columns, so you can not just move one cookie. Oh, and the cookies that would be pushed outside of the tile area just wrap around to the other side. But buddy, it ain't that simple. Why would it be? Over time, more rows and columns get stuck onto your tile area, creating more chaos and factors on what moves and where you want to move the cookies. To combat this addition of tiles, when a line is full of only one type of cookie, in which there are 5 different types, that line gets sent to the jar, I guess? Oh no, not the jar! I think this whole box thing is meant to be an oven and the cookies get finished baking when you complete a line, but then what's Mario doing with these levers? Is it a cookie factory? What is this whole operation and where is Yoshi? Yeah, strangely enough, Yoshi does not appear at all in this game apart from these little cutscene interludes. So why is it called Yoshi's Cookie? Strangely enough though, a lot of our questions can be answered in the Game Boy version of the game. Here, Yoshi controls one lever and Mario controls the other. Plus, you can see a button above them, which further makes me believe that this takes place in a cookie factory of some sort. Hey, don't give me funny looks, you signed up for this when you decided to listen to me talk about Yoshi's Cookie. So that's the base gameplay, and by itself, it sounds fine, but not enough to warrant this deep of a discussion about it. So what does Yoshi's Cookie actually do with it? Well, on the title screen there are 2 options here, single player or versus mode. I'll talk about the versus mode later on, so we'll ignore that for now. This whole single player menu is pretty similar to Yoshi. You got speed options for how fast the additional cookies are added, 3 music options, but the top option is a bit different. Instead of having 2 game mode types, Yoshi's Cookie just has one single player option, action mode. Basically, there are 10 rounds of pre-made levels with 10 levels in each of them, and this is where things get interesting. You see, each of these levels can usually be solved very fast. Sure, you could just move around cookies randomly and try to get complete lines, but all of these patterns they give you seem to be designed for you to be able to get the use of all your cookies optimally to get the most efficient solution, because when you clear every cookie, the level's over. So it gets really interesting as the rounds get harder and faster to make sure you think about what you're doing and where every cookie will land. Will it make a complete line that I don't want? Because sometimes that can happen. Sometimes you're saving a cookie for a specific place, but then God says no. If the round patterns were all just random, this game wouldn't be as fun nor interesting. But this idea tremendously helps this experience and actually gets you thinking, which is what puzzle games are meant to do. And there are things to assist you if you're very good and very bad. See, if you're having trouble on a pattern and things are getting kind of dicey, there is actually a 6th type of Yoshi cookie, the Yoshi cookie.
Say that again?
These act as a sort of wild card, so if you use it, it allows you to complete a line without having all the cookies be the same, which is a nice addition to those in need. We should give Yoshi cookies to every homeless person in America. That'll solve everyone's problem. But don't fret.
Thank God.
If you're just too fast at the game, which usually happens on the earlier levels for me, doesn't mean I'm good, I just speedrun through it, doesn't mean I do good, you can hold the B button to have the extra cookies drop on your field faster. This is a godsend, and when I was first playing this game, I didn't know about it, which made my one complaint towards this game much worse.
Yeah, this game isn't all sunshine and rainbows, buddy. I do have a few problems with it. Basically, whenever you're just about to finish your set and complete the level, and you mess up, which is what I usually do, you have these extra few morsels of cookies that you can't do much with. You'd think, oh, well, the game is coded in such a way that you already complete levels fairly quickly, so it'll probably just give you pieces that can help you complete the level, right? But the human mind is weird in that way, because you came up with that logical explanation even after I already said that this was a problem. So obviously, that didn't happen. It's not coded that way. Oh my God.
Anyways, while you're graced with these tiny morsels of cookies, sometimes you kinda just gotta wait there. Like, seriously, sometimes it's quite a while before the game actually gives you cookies you need in order to complete your set. So, is it random? It seems like it, which is, again, just weird to me because I feel like the actual starting puzzle isn't random. What makes this worse is that sometimes the game drops you down a pair of cookies that just automatically complete a line. Like, are you serious?
But honestly, that's my one complaint about this action mode. Like, that's it. And the problem isn't, like, unplayable or anything. I think I've just been so focused on explaining the actual gameplay that I haven't really had a chance to say that I like this game. I think that's a pretty neat and little fun time. Now, it's probably better than Yoshi 1991, but, and I feel like I'm the only person that's gonna say I like a game less than Yoshi 1991. I feel like I'd rather play Yoshi 1991.
I don't want to spend too much time on this, really. Listen, I like the actual puzzle and figure it out in the most efficient way possible deal. It's good. But Yoshi's Cookie doesn't have an endless mode, and Yoshi does. So I feel like I would just rather play Yoshi in short bursts over this. In terms of gameplay itself, I like them both basically equally. The risk and reward gameplay in Yoshi is good, but like I said, I like the actual thinking sometimes involved in Yoshi's Cookie. To be fair, an endless mode in this game would be kinda weird. I mean, how would that even work? You clear your board so fast in this game, but nonetheless, not having a mode similar to an endless sort of thing was a bit of a missed opportunity. However, when I think of Yoshi's Cookie, I do not immediately think of the single player mode. No, my mind goes to the multiplayer mode because it's good. Now, there was multiplayer in Yoshi 1991 as well, but it's about what you expect. You just play the game against another person, it's not that complicated. However, Yoshi's Cookie has one of the most unique versus modes in a puzzle game I've ever seen. So when you see this, you'll probably be asking, what is going on here? And yeah, that's fair, that's how I felt my first time too. But once you learn all of this stuff, it gets interesting. This is like the equivalent of saying it gets good 50 hours in, but for Yoshi's Cookie. Basically, you have this 5x5 grid of cookies, and when you complete a line, you get a point, and a Yoshi cookie spawns. These aren't wild cards here, though. Instead, after spawning at least 5, you can get a line of Yoshi cookies. And when you do this, the event currently displayed above your playing field happens. Let me explain. Basically, let's say you got a Yoshi line and this box above your playing field said player 2 panic. What this does is it creates the panic effect for the second player, which scrambles all their cookies and prevents them from moving any cookies during the process for about 5 seconds or so. The blind effect put these 9 question marks to block your view, and the third status effect is it's slave. It's safe to say we're not all saying this. What this does is whoever gets the effect cannot control their cursor, and instead, their cursor is controlled by the other player, or more specifically, it copies everything the other player does with their cursor. That's pretty cool, but why'd they have to call it that? That's kinda weird. There's other events that can be triggered as well, but it's mainly just giving or taking points from the players. But be careful, not all of the events above benefit you. Some can actually give you setbacks, like you can give yourself the panic or blind effect. If you give yourself slave, nothing happens, but that's still worse than giving your opponent a setback. What's cool here is that the color of the box actually lets you know if it's good or not. If the box is blue, that means the event benefits player 1. But if it's red, that means it benefits player 2. This is one of those little things that ends up going a long way. Like, seriously, this is very helpful. Anyways, to win the game, you fill up this bar here by getting 25 points, or alternatively, you hope and pray your opponent takes too long to match, in which they would time out, giving you the win. Each game ends once one person wins 3 rounds, you know, the usual.
I will say that this is what I first think of when I think Yoshi's Cookie. The versus mode is it, man. But did you really think I figured all of that out by myself? Yeah, my main complaint about this mode is that if you're playing it without any prior knowledge, you won't really know what's going on. Sure, the manual did tell you the basics, and now you could look it up, but I wish there was a way for it to tell you in-game. I get this was on NES and Game Boy, but they probably could have found some way to do this. Either way, I feel like the gameplay is perfect here. Of course, your first time around, the attacking system is a little complicated, but other than that, I wouldn't really change a thing.
And that's Yoshi's Cookie for NES and Game Boy. Overall, very solid, and probably some of the best multiplayer fun you could get out of both systems, especially the NES. And the single player offerings here are pretty good too, but nothing incredibly special. However, this is not where the story ends. Nintendo still had a craving for more Yoshi's Cookie, even after 2 million copies of the game were sold, counting the Game Boy and NES versions together. So Nintendo licensed the Mario characters and the Yoshi's Cookie brand back to Bulletproof Software, and asked them to reskin their Super NES version of Hermetica into a Super NES version of Yoshi's Cookie. How did Earth function without this for 1,993 years? So in the summer of 1993, in every region, surprisingly, Yoshi's Cookie released for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. So was this literally just the same game with updated graphics, or did it add anything? Well, you'd actually be sort of surprised at how much they added for the Super NES version. In terms of the action mode, nothing was changed. The Versus mode, however, not only had some really good visual overhauls, like this rope slowly burning to show the time you have left to make a match instead of this minuscule bar, but also had different character options. Now, these were technically in the Game Boy version's Versus Mode 2, but literally who cares? I don't have a link cable, bro. You can choose between Mario, Yoshi, Bowser, and Peach. And it's not only for aesthetics either. They actually have their own strengths and weaknesses. Mario is balanced, Yoshi has the duration of effects he gets hit with, but in return, he has to wait longer for the event shown to change, which is bad because sometimes those events can be bad. So you have to wait for them to change. But you can't wait too long, because you'll time out. Peach is the opposite of Yoshi, and Bowser has more powerful attacks, but his timer is faster. No justice for my man Weege, but you can't win them all. Now, that's not all this NES version adds. It actually adds a completely new single-player mode. This is named Puzzle Mode, and this is literally what I was asking for all my life. This takes my favorite thing about action mode in the other versions, the puzzle aspect, and makes it the entire gameplay. You start off with a set of cookies predetermined per level, there are 100 of them, and you'll only have a specific amount of moves to clear the whole set. It's genius. This is what Yoshi's Cookie needed to spice it up a bit more. Now I feel enticed to play multiplayer, which I always did, but also to play single player. It's really cool. Oh, and it uses passwords to save your progress. Thank God.
But yeah, that's about it for the Super Nintendo version, and I will say, this is definitely the definitive way to play Yoshi's Cookie. I mean, the puzzle mode in and of itself makes it worth it, but the multiplayer is also very unique and fun. So much so that there are still more versions of this game. Oh my god!
Yeah, the next year in 1994, Nintendo released a Japanese-only version of Yoshi's Cookie, but with a twist. It was made to promote a Panasonic brand microwave. What? Yeah, this game is likely something you've never heard of. It was called Yoshi no Cookie Kuruppon Oven de Cookie, which means Yoshi's Cookie, Cookies in Kuruppon Oven, and only 500 copies were made. What's cool though is that the game had instructions on how to actually make all of the different types of cookies you see in Yoshi's Cookie. That's pretty neat. If you want to own this, then good luck paying 2 mortgages. Also, in 2003, Nintendo released a Japanese-only GameCube game named Nintendo Puzzle Collection. It had a port of Dr. Mario 64, a sequel to Panel de Pon, more widely known as Tetris Attack.
That's my goat right there. That's my goat!
And finally, most important to us, a full-blown remake of Yoshi's Cookie. The art style here looks gorgeous, and they added a whole new story mode and everything. Plus, you can play Versus mode with 4 people now. That sounds incredible. But again, this is a Japanese exclusive, so I don't have the game and likely won't be able to play it for a long time. But this seems like a pretty neat novelty to have, and it's a shame this cool collection was never released over here in the States, or literally just anywhere else for that matter. Yoshi's Cookie also got re-released on the Wii's Virtual Console, specifically the NES version in 2008, but was delisted 5 years later. That's weird. Why would that be? Well, I have some more strange info when it comes to re-releases of this game. In a Virtual Console sizzle reel for Wii U, uploaded by Nintendo onto YouTube in April of 2013, it shows Yoshi's Cookie. Look, it's right there! This never came onto Wii U Virtual Console. What gets even weirder is that for the entirety of the Nintendo Switch's lifespan, Yoshi's Cookie never arrived onto NES Switch Classics either, and it's still not here to this day. All this makes me feel like there might be some rights issues going on with Nintendo and Bulletproof Software, which, sucks. It can't possibly be that bad to bring one Yoshi game from 1992 back, and it's especially lame because of how much this is referenced in modern Mario games. In Super Mario Odyssey, Mario can wear his chef outfit from Yoshi's Cookie on NES. In Partners in Time, which I guess I wouldn't consider modern, but whatever, the Yoshi's Island area has a bunch of cookies from this game in it, and the cookies are referenced several times in Yoshi's Crafted World. The only other reason I can think of that explains this disgraceful behavior by Nintendo is that maybe they don't want a game on NSO that says slave. I mean, it's related to a very bad and sensitive topic, and I get that maybe they don't want kids to open up a random Yoshi game and be exposed to this word, but I don't know, do what you did with the N64 app and create a separate 17+ one. That'll be great. All it'll have is Yoshi's Cookie.
Overall, I had a pretty fun time talking about Yoshi's Cookie. It's actually very interesting how many specific versions of this game are, how fun the multiplayer can be, and the theories about why there aren't any re-releases. Combining all of these things together, Yoshi's Cookie is definitely much better than Yoshi 1991. It seems like we're really getting somewhere with this Yoshi series, and I'm excited to see where it takes me next. Oh, the new cookies are finally done. Let's take a look. A cease and desist letter from Nintendo? We have patented all things related to cookies due to our popular puzzle game Yoshi's Cookie's existence. We'll see you in court unless you do something for us, you sellout. Blah blah blah, Super Mario Chef.
Is your cooking miserable? Do you need someone who can actually create bearable meals for you and your family to eat? Try the Super Mario Chef. Super Mario Chef cooks meals at a surprisingly fast pace. They're always tasty, nutritious, and filled to the brim with charm. You'll be salivating at every dish.
Wow, Super Mario Chef, you're great!
Super Mario Chef. Order yours today.